sit down and talk about the amount of racism that most Indian people have towards black people.
I wasn't going to stitch this video because I've made many videos talking about racism in our community. But I've seen a lot of stitches on this video and Indian people saying, well, it's not all Indian people. Yeah, we know that. Black people know that. But it's a lot of us. So they are valid to say Indian people are racist. And can you honestly tell me, how would your family react if they know you're dating a black person? I also saw someone say, well, black people are racist to us too. Two wrongs don't make a right, but I'm also having a hard time believing that you know that many black people. And you're probably just making this assumption from like two black people that were nice to you. So like, well, they're racist to us too. We as Indian people need to acknowledge how we are wrong and apologize and change. We literally have come through apartheid together and somehow we're still divided. It doesn't make sense.
Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to the channel. Let's have a short, quick video on Indians and colorism, in Indians and racism. So I don't probably personally have a personal problem with an Indian person or the Indian people, but some of their practices I personally just do not really agree with. And because in this channel, we always call out colorism and racism, I think it's just better, it's just right, it's just fair enough to also call out on the racism, the colorism, the Indian people, the Indian person has, especially towards the black person or people of the melanated skin. And I talk this because as a Kenyan, the Indian people came to Kenya first as railway line when the British were laying down the very first railway lines in the country. And ever since, a good number of them did not leave, and they multiplied. And in fact, in Kenya, they are recognized as one of the Kenyan tribes. So they are Kenyans, people that have been living in Kenya for 5 or 4, 3 or more generations. Then probably that's a person that we recognize as a Kenyan. However, there's a problem when it comes to how they relate and they regard the black person. It's so sad that in the city, uh, in the streets of Nairobi, in Kenya, we have spaces, we have places, we have neighborhoods that are only meant for Indian people, and that the black person is not allowed to even step. It doesn't matter how much money you say you have. You might want to purchase a property in an estate, estates that are only meant for Indian people or people of Indian origin, or Kenyan Indians, Indian Kenyans. And that's sad because it is a rather very arbitrary decision to just decide that this must only be an Indian only place. Because what is the exact reason, that what is the interference that a black person living in at that estate would really cause? And we have many Kenyans suffering in Indian industries, in Indian owned businesses, oppression. And in fact, if anything, the black person that is working, it's okay that the black person can work for an Indian businessman or an Indian owned company, and vice versa. Even when a black person has a company and they employ an Indian person to run, that's okay. I don't have a problem with that. But the kind of oppression, the kind of the light in which the black person, the Kenyan person, is being viewed by the Indian employer, is totally unacceptable. I have so many people complaining about how the Indian people, how people of Indian origin mistreat the African people. And this is not only happening in Kenya, and that's very sad. You can't come to this because others just came. Not all Indians that you see in Kenya have historically been born here and their parents born here. Some just came because now they have relatives, kind of like, they have relatives that can help them come here. You can't come here and come and impose your racial discrimination and racial profiling to the natives of this land. It's not right. When you come to my place, when you come to my house, respect my rules, respect me, and that is basically a bare minimum, you know. And for those Kenyan Indians, those Indians, people of Indian Kenyans of Indian origin that really believe to be Kenyan, then they must act like Kenyans. Uh, Let me share a very short video talking about the same, and then we can come back and analyze. So here is a video.
We are not exempt from the laws of this country just because of our skin color. To the Indians living in Kenya about the finance bill for 2024. As an Indian living in Kenya, we always say Kenya is our country. We are also Kenyans. Right now is your time to show how Kenyan you actually are. So many Indians within the Kenyan community are so ignorant of the finance bill because we feel like it will not affect our lives just because we are not the average citizen. You cannot say you are Kenyan just for the name of it. That no longer slacked. My reminder to my fellow Indian Kenyans, if you are as Kenyan as you say you are, Kenyan Indians, please join in, amplify your voice, share as much information as you can, pick up your phone, educate yourself, educate people around you, and I promise you, you will be doing justice for this country. You don't want to attend protests? Fine. Sympathize more with Kenyans. Sympathize more with the people who are actually being affected by this finance bill. And Kenyan Indians, it's time to get off our high horse. It is time to change your perspective on what's happening in Kenya. These taxes are not going to forgive you just because you're brown. Please understand that this finance bill of 2024 is going to affect everyone in the nation. To the women of the Asian community in Kenya, the pads are going to be taxed. You are being affected by this as well. To anyone who does grocery shopping, to anyone who fills their tank with fuel, this is going to affect your daily bread. And yes, you may have an abundance of money sitting in your father's bank account, but there's only so much that your father's money can do for you, okay? Which is why it's so important to stay informed on what's happening. Hashtag reject the finance bill of 2024. It's time for the Kenyan Indians to step up.
They say if you go to Rome, then behave like the Romans. Do not force the Romans to behave like you. And the problem with Indians and colorism is really deeper than just what we see in Kenya, in Nairobi, in the streets of African capitals, because Indians and colorism it's a deep history. And Indians, people of I think Southeastern Asia have always had this issue with colorism, where people of darker skin are demeaned or deemed to be, of lower social class, lower caste in India, because those that know that in India there is the caste system of they have the caste system where people of which is basically just discrimination in terms of social class. And I recently read that it's so sad because in the caste system you cannot escape a caste that you are born into. You have always, like, even if we are viewing people in terms of social economic social class, then but people always move. There is always mobility of people, and I mean, I can be born into a humble background, but with time I can work hard. I can go to school. I can, luck can be on my side, and I can shift from being a poor person to being a rich person. That is always open, as long as you work hard, as long as you do what you have to do. But then, look, the Indian person has to introspect, because the problem starts from deep within. Here is another video that explains a little bit about, Indians and colorism. So let's have a look at it.
I'm probably going to get a lot of backlash for saying this, but I'm going to say it anyway because it's been bothering me. Recently, I've seen a lot of videos on TikTok and Instagram. South Asians asking the British Empire to return the Kohinoor diamond back to India after the Queen passed away. Sari blouses apparently not being a thing, and that they were introduced by the British Empire to cover a woman's modesty. We're pointing fingers at the British Empire for all these things, and yet they left 75 years ago, and we're still holding on to one of the biggest legacies they've left behind: fair skin privilege and colorism. Okay, so I know that colorism did exist in South Asia before they arrived, but let's be very honest, their arrival exacerbated the problem, right? And we're still holding on to that. In fact, it's thriving. Colorism is thriving in India. We're holding on to that. We're holding on to internalized racism. I think it's high time we start looking within and fix those problems first.
Look, if there is any strategy, strategy that the white man used to conquer the world, and it was so successful, was divide and rule tactic. And this is what has really given birth to racial discrimination and racial profiling, even to date. People, I mean, and in as much as the Indian people always had this with them, you have heard from this video that the coming of the white man really aggravated, exacerbated the matter, so much, so much more. And it's really time we started fighting such narratives, fighting such stereotypes that really feel like skin colors and such things really determine the value of a human being. So I think it is time for the Indian person to look deep inside their own selves, fight this vice of colorism and racial discrimination, and come out and accept human beings as they are. And now those that claim to be Africans of Indian origins, for them the case is even different, because you can come here and impose Indian values, not values. I do not want to call racism an Indian value, but vices, on people of the land, sons and daughters and natives of this land. I think that is totally unacceptable. I think we can help one another become better by living together and embracing one another, learning from one another, and just becoming one unit of people that you know uh, uh, homogeneously just coexist. And because I have always said in my videos that this world belongs to all of us. None of us belongs to this world more or a little less than the other. We have all to belong here, and we have all to coexist here. So yeah, with that said, please share your thoughts in the comment section, and share this video, like this video. If you haven't yet subscribed to our channel, please support us by subscribing to this channel. So until next time, see you in the next video.